So, what have my first 2 weeks of owning a Tesla Model 3 been like? Did it live up to my expectations? And well, that's what I'm going to cover in this video. Firstly, for anyone thinking about buying a Tesla, then you really have to be ready for many of the Tesla-isms that I'm calling them. And sadly, there are really lots of these, so you have to be open-minded about them. Some are quite big, so for example, Elon might decide at the drop of a hat to reduce the price by 30%, and all of a sudden your expensive car has lost a lot of value overnight. That could happen, and it's things like that that I'm calling a Tesla-ism. There are many smaller ones too, and the whole experience is a bit different with Tesla. So I thought I'd start with the main one for me. A Tesla is a computer with wheels, whereas a traditional car is a small computer powering the radio and navigation and a combustion engine in the front. Sadly, Teslas are different, and like all computers, they do crash and they need rebooting. I have to say though, this isn't anywhere near as annoying as it sounds. From time to time, you have to hold down both the buttons on the steering wheel for 30 seconds to reboot the car's computer, and it fixes most of the problems. It's fine if it happens when you've got time on your side, but I have to say, with 2 small children and you're trying to leave the house in a rush and you go out and the car doesn't work and you have to wait and do a reboot, it can be very frustrating. And I'll cover this in more detail at some point, so let me know in the comments if you'd like me to do that. But for this video, let's talk about the first 2 weeks. It definitely does take some getting used to. Electric driving is very different, and I have to say I love driving around with 0 tailpipe emissions. I think that's really good. It's really good for the planet, and it just feels great on your conscience. I love the autopilot. I think it's really good. I haven't paid for the full self-drive option, but I really enjoy having the autopilot on the motorway. It really works really well. And with a light touch on the steering wheel, you really can just let the car do a lot of the work. The onboard computer and entertainment is brilliant. I really love the computer, I really love the interface. Lots of online reviewers aren't so keen on the touch screen and the way you interact with the car, but I really like it. I think it really works, and I think it's a really good way of interacting with the car. The seats are really comfortable. I have come from, my previous car was a Volvo XC60, which felt comfortable in the showroom, but those seats were just not comfortable on road trips. I found them just a little bit too firm and really not very comfortable. My car prior to that was a BMW 535, and the seats in that were just superior to the Volvo seats by a long shot. And so far my experience with the Tesla seats is that they are probably on a par with the BMW seats, but I've not done any long road trips yet. The car drives really nice. I have no complaints with the driving. I'm not a car reviewer, but it feels really nice. It feels really responsive. It's obviously very quick and it holds the road really well. I also really like the look. I know, again, some people, the look isn't for them. They think it maybe looks like a squashed frog, but I think it looks great and I really enjoy the look of the car. I also love the minimalist cockpit. I think it's great. I love when you're driving that you don't see anything other than just the screen when you need it, and it's just a really relaxing place to be. Also, I really love how little this car is costing me per mile in electric. My previous car, a Volvo XC60, on average cost about 20 pence per mile of driving here in the UK. Now, my early estimates and calculations with the Tesla is that it's going to cost about 1.5 pence per mile, which is just incredible. And 2 weeks in, I look forward to driving the car every time I need to go somewhere. It's still exciting and I'm still really enjoying it. There are definitely some things that I don't like, and it's worth talking about those here as well. It's tempting to jump on the build quality bandwagon, but I have to say I've not experienced that. I think mine is built very well. I haven't had any problems with panel gaps or the usual problems. I have had other problems with the computers, which I'll cover in other videos, and it's already been back to the service centre a couple of times, and I'll talk about that more in another video, but I've not had the build quality problems. I don't like how quiet the indicator is. I know it's a small thing, but it's not very clear when you're indicating and when you're not. It would be much better if there was a sound, more audible change there, but I guess that's software, so that's quite easy to change in the future. And I don't like that you have to disengage autopilot to change lane. I know that this is a way of making you pay for the full self-driving, and it differentiates the package. And I'll talk you through at some point the technique that I've got to disengage autopilot, and I've learned the best way to do that on the motorways. But it's something that is a little frustrating. The rear visibility isn't great. I'm not a big fan of the rear visibility. You can't really see very much out the rear view mirror, and the side mirrors are quite small as well, but I suppose I'll get used to those. Another one is that you can't see the center screen very well if you're wearing polarized sunglasses. Just the pixels on the screen aren't lined up very well to work with polarized glasses, and you end up looking at a rainbow screen like this. Another complaint, but I have to say this was my early complaint, and I'm getting more used to it, is that the steering is either a little too light or a little too heavy. In previous cars I've had, they auto sense the speed, and at high speed it makes the steering very heavy, and then at low speed it makes it very light for parking. And the Tesla is kind of either on light or heavy as a setting. My wife definitely finds it too heavy even on its lightest setting. I have it on its middle setting, and it does feel quite heavy when you're parking, and it feels a bit too light when you're at speed, so I'm not a big fan of that. And that's about it. Overall, I have to say I love this car. I've come from a Volvo XC60, as I've said, and prior to that the BMW, and going from BMW to Volvo felt like a bit of a step backwards for me in every way from a quality point of view. And I know not everyone will think that. Sometimes Volvo and BMW are put on a level playing field, but that was not my experience. I think it was less comfortable, it was less quality. But going back into the Tesla, it feels like a big step up from the Volvo. Not necessarily from the BMW, but the quality of the interior is almost as good as the BMW, in my opinion. And I was worried that this car wouldn't be big enough for a family of 4, and I'll cover this in more detail in a later video, but the short answer is that there's loads of space. And I've also read a lot online about range anxiety, and I've not experienced that at all yet. I think you get plenty of range, and charging really isn't that much of a big deal. I'm looking forward to seeing how the car performs on long road trips and what the annual running cost ends up being, but overall I'm really chuffed. So thanks for watching. If you've made it this far, then please hit the subscribe button. It's really helpful to help the channel grow, and we'll see you soon.